Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab coat's on back order. Now, a few things to mention for this week. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about the new schedule that I want to have for these videos on my channel here. So I'm going to stick to the Tuesday uploads being sort of like a news kind of a thing, like when I mention the new cards, new sets coming out, new, information from Pokemon International. I'm going to try and do that as a Tuesday upload, and in between those, if I have any other, things worth mentioning, I'm going to do those for the Tuesday things. But starting this week, I do want to have one match of the video game, like an online Wi-Fi match, and another day of the week I want to have an online TCG match as well. And I might kind of mix it up a little bit. For example, when I get the new theme decks that come out in the Ancient Origins expansion, I might have the TCG video that week to be one of the, either like the theme deck fusions or the theme deck showdown of the two against each other. So I'm kind of going to play around with it a little bit like that. But look forward to seeing 3 videos a week now, as long as I can sort of keep the pace up, and as long as it doesn't bore the viewers too much. As long as you guys find it interesting enough, I'll keep doing it. So, as always, be sure to leave me some comments. Let me know if you're interested in what I'm doing, and if you have any ideas for other things you want to see me do for the channel here. Let me know all about that, because I want to make stuff you guys want to see. Alright, so that's going to be the format. Excuse me. And in the middle of everything here, I've sort of got a little bit of, I'd call it home renovation on the go. More so just like kind of decorating the room a little bit. Like, I don't know if there's any weird shadows from the lighting right now, but I've got like a huge wall shelf thing that you can't see. It's the camera is actually set inside of it. I'm working on getting it painted, and I'm going to mount it on the wall to the side, which you also can't see, so I shouldn't be pointing for whatever reason. But once it's up and I have all my stuff displayed, I'm going to do sort of like maybe a little, we'll say home tour, although it's more like just a one-room tour, but just to show you guys, everything that I have. For example, I recently installed a new corkboard back here under the Pokemon photos, and I can show that off a little bit. You can get a little bit of a glimpse of what's there. A lot of like 8-bit or 16-bit style artwork there, and some pins that I picked up at the various conventions. I basically wanted to have something that I can start showing off more of the cool things that I pick up at these different conventions that I go to. So, along with that, we're going to have these new wall shelves installed, which should be within maybe a week or two, hopefully. And it's going to make the room here look a lot more nerdy, which to me means more awesome. Alright, and hopefully it means that to you as well. So, looking at my nice clipboard off to the side here, first thing I'm going to mention this week in the news department is, and this is all coming from Pokemon.com, so Pokemon International news that's been released, there's a new online tournament coming up. It's actually, the registration is open right now, and it's called Circle of Legends. Now, in the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire games, if you go online to Pokemon.com and register with the global link, you can sign up for this contest. What it is basically, it's rotation battle, which is, of course, 3 Pokemon on a field. You can rotate and then attack. And the idea is only legendaries and only mythical Pokemon are allowed to be in this battle. So that's insane. Like, a lot of times competitions will ban those types of Pokemon because they're too powerful. This is a competition only those Pokemon are allowed. So you're going to see some crazy intense battles. Something else I really like about it too is that legendaries from past generations are allowed in this. Now, a lot of times, I know with like the national and regional, national, and world championships for Pokemon International, only Pokemon that are caught and raised in the current generation of games can be entered, because if you look on your Pokemon data screens, like the info screens, you'll see they have a little blue pentagon symbol. That means they were caught in the 6th generation. Now, the official World Championships will only allow these kind of Pokemon, which for me is kind of a downside, because I've put all this work into training my guys from way back in Fire Red, so they're not legal for these World Championships, so they'll never earn the World Ribbons. But chances are they're not as powerful as the World Champions anyway, so kind of a moot point anyhow. But that being said, legendaries from previous games are going to be allowed in this Circle of Legends contest. So rotation battle means you have to have at least 4 Pokemon, and you register them. You choose 4 to go into each battle. You can bring 6, of course. You can bring a full team of 6, and then choose which of the 4 you want to bring in per battle. And registration, I'm just going to make sure my notes are good here. Registration is going until the end of the day on July 23rd, Thursday. So you have until 11:59 to get your teams registered, because the very next minute, midnight on Friday, June 24th, July 24th, I should say, is when the tournament actually begins. Now, you're limited in how many matches you can play per day. You have a limit of 10, but if you don't play all 10 in your first day, and your remaining matches will carry over to the next day. So, in theory, you could actually save all 30 of your matches until Sunday. So you can play all 30 there, you can play 10 one day, 10 another, whatever you want to do, if whatever you have time to really get involved with. And it should be pretty interesting. Like I say, nothing but legendaries duking it out against each other. And hopefully some of those will actually be shown on the Pokemon YouTube channel so you can see some of these heavy hitters going head to head. So that's the information for the video game right now. Some new information for the TCG. First and foremost, as I said last week, there's going to be a new expansion coming out on August, I believe it was 12th. Yes. August 12th will be the Ancient Origins expansion releasing in North America. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the pictures of the cards that have been revealed already for the expansion. There's 6 cards that they've revealed in the English translation version. Of course, the Japanese set's already been out, but I like to focus on just the ones we know are translated for English because chances are we might not get every single card from the Japanese set. I think usually we do, but just in case, I'm going to play it safe. So other information though, an important thing to mention is starting in the 2016 season, which I think comes into effect September 1st of this year, a new standard format is going to come into play. What this means is older sets are going to be rotated out of the legal for tournament expansions that are allowed in Play Pokemon organized events. So the new standard set is going to start with the X and Y Kalos starter set, which predates the base set of X and Y. So the Kalos starter set and everything up to today is allowed in the standard format. And new sets as they come out, for example Ancient Origins, those become legal after 3 weeks of their sale date. So as soon as they come on sale, you get to buy them, test them, play around with them. Legally, you cannot use them in tournaments until 3 weeks after they've been released. So it's going to keep expanding more sets or more cards into the sets. Now, what does this mean for your decks? Okay, so if you run any particular cards that predate the X and Y Kalos starter set, a number of very important cards that a lot of people seem to use are no longer valid. Now, there's a nice little list that Pokemon has given us, and some people might not be particularly thrilled with this, but I'll just kind of go over them here. First and foremost, any Ace Spec card, they're no longer legal, because as of the Kalos starter set, they have not printed any Ace Spec cards at that point. So none of those will be legal after this point. So there's things like Dowsing Machine and Computer Search. They're actually not going to be allowed in the standard format. 2 more important ones are Hypnotoxic Laser and Burbank City Gym. So those are cards that focus on causing poison to your opponent, and the gym actually adds more poison damage. So those are some pretty important cards that I've seen in a lot of the championship decks. Those will not be legal in standard as well. And a couple of important supporter cards that we've seen a lot of use of. There's Colress, which when you play it lets you shuffle your hand and draw 1 card for each bench Pokemon in play. Also going by the wayside is N. That's another card that I've seen a lot of people use. The effect of that is you play it, both players shuffle their hand to their deck, and then draw 1 card for each of their own remaining prize cards. So if you're losing, if you got 5 prizes left, your opponent has 2, N is a good way to limit your opponent's resources. They would only get 2 cards while you get 5. Now, I'll mention in the Ancient Origins cards, there's a card coming out that is similar to N, so there's not that big of a drawback. Real drawback is with Colress, however, because in Roaring Skies, new stadium that came out is called the Sky Field. Sky Field allows both players to have up to 8 Pokemon on their bench, as opposed to just 5. If both players had a full bench of 8, that's 16 Pokemon, you could play this Colress card, shuffle your hand, and draw 16 cards. Now, that would give you so many resources to work with, but unfortunately with the new rotation, Colress and Skyfield are not both allowed at the same time in the standard format. Kind of a drawback. Now, another important card that is going by the wayside is the Floatstone tool. This is an item that you attach to a Pokemon to give it 0 retreat cost. Like, not even 0 technically, just nothing at all. 0 means it could be increased by certain things or whatever, but essentially the Pokemon holding Floatstone can retreat for free. I see this a lot people using the Keldeo-EX, which has the ability Rush In, which says once during your turn, you can actually just do a switch of Keldeo with your active. If Keldeo is holding a Floatstone, you can then freely retreat it for anything else. So it's like a good way to control your own field using Keldeo plus the Floatstone. Unfortunately, Floatstone is no longer valid. Another important card which is not valid in Standard now is the Garbodor from, I forget the set, it's one of the black and white sets though. The important thing to note is its ability, Garbotoxin. This is an ability that says as long as Garbodor has an item attached, no other abilities are in effect. That shuts down a good number of decks, and that's why people are running things like Zero Sick and Startling Megaphone to discard your opponent's tool cards. Of course, in the new Standard set, Garbodor is no longer valid, so Garbotoxin is garbage. Final card that so many people love to use because of the versatility of it is Mew-EX. That's from Legendary Treasures, and it's the Radiant Collection in Legendary Treasures, I believe, like sort of a subset. Mew-EX is gone. It's no longer valid in Standard format. So, what was really fun with Mew-EX, there's so many like new attacks that come out in every expansion. One thought process is, how can Mew-EX use this attack to its advantage? Things like Night March. Mew-EX is one of the most important Night March attackers in a Night March deck. Now he's not in the Night March deck anymore. Another card that came out was Shedinja, and I mentioned several videos ago, with Hopeless Scream. Does 50 damage times the number of damage counters on the Pokemon using it. If Mew-EX can use that, it could be doing up to, like, maximum would be 550 damage. If Mew is like 10 HP away from fainting, that's 11 damage counters times 50. 550 from Mew-EX. Can you imagine if they're weak to Psychic too? Man. But no more. Mew-EX is gone. So, that's a number of changes to keep in mind. Also, I'll show you a list right now of all the different symbols, like the expansion symbols in the bottom right corner of the cards, so you can take a look and see which of your cards might have to be cycled out. Alright, let's check that out. So here you can see the expansion symbols for each legal expansion in the Standard format for 2016, starting with the X and Y Kalos starter set, leading up all the way to Ancient Origins, and some of the other sets like McDonald's Collection 2014, and the X and Y Trainer Kit, and any Black Star promo cards that are numbered X and Y 01 and higher. And as it says here, additional expansions become legal 3 weeks after they're released in the US. So now, all that being said, there is the expanded format. Expanded allows further sets than what's in the Standard format, and a number of the official tournaments, like I think the regionals and maybe even the nationals, some of those are still using the expanded format. I don't quite know if Worlds is using it, but if they are, this at least leaves opportunities open for people. So all those cards I just mentioned that are no longer legal in Standard, they're still legal in the expanded format, because expanded is starting from the black and white base set and moving up. That's what expanded has been for the past season rotation. Nothing's changing for expanded as of yet for the 2016 season. This here is the listing and the images of all the expansions that are included in the expanded format for 2016. As you can see, starting with the black and white base set, leading all the way up to the cards of today. So feel free to either pause the video and take a look at the symbols if you want to double check your decks, or just go on to Pokemon.com, click on the TCG section, and then just look for the new format information somewhere down there on the news page. Check with your local Pokemon League, ask them what format they're going to be using for the upcoming 2016 season. And if you don't currently attend a league, just go to Pokemon.com. They have like a league finder on there. Just type in your location. It'll find the nearest league to you. And if you haven't been to a league, just go out there, check it out, and play some games. You might have a really good time. I think you probably will. So that's all there is to mention for the TCG game, other than going and checking out the new cards from Ancient Origins. Alright, let's take a look at those. So taking a look at some of the new Ancient Origins cards coming out, we're starting with Hoopa-EX. Yes, I mentioned it in a previous video, and Hoopa-EX has made it to the English expansion of Pokemon TCG. As you can see here, Psychic-type Pokemon with 170 HP, with one powerful ability here, referencing its involvement in the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire game. Scoundrel Ring. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX, except for Hoopa-EX. Reveal them and put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. It's just going to be bringing so many legendaries and megas and every powerful Pokemon from your deck into play. So that is very, very powerful. Now the Hyperspace Fury attack for 3 Psychic Energy discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this can target the bench. This, like, so many things about this Hoopa are somewhat overpowered, but hopefully things like Suicune and the new Beautifly from, I believe, Roaring Skies, which prevent all damage done by EX Pokemon, hopefully they can do something and, you know, hang in there. But definitely a powerful card you want to get if you're running a deck with a lot of EX Pokemon. Hoopa-EX would definitely be a good addition into there, even just for the ability itself. Now, a new trainer card has been revealed. This is what I say is going to be somewhat comparable to N in the later formats here. Ace Trainer. You can only play this card if you have more prize cards left than your opponent, so you have to be losing the game. But each player shuffles their hand into their deck, then you draw 6 cards, your opponent draws 3. This works pretty much the same if your opponent had 3 prizes left and you had 6. That's what N would do. Both of you would shuffle your hands and draw that many cards back. So it's not quite the same as N. Early game, this would be better if your opponent has taken the first prize card. You can play Ace Trainer immediately. You'll get your full 6 cards. They will get only 3 as opposed to 5 when you play N. So that could be useful to help slow your opponent down and possibly build yourself up a little bit more too. And here we're going to take a look at the Mega Pokemon, the Primal Reversions for Kyogre, Groudon, and then Mega Rayquaza. As you can see, it's the same Pokemon, like I said before, same type, same HP, same attack, things like that. The only difference now being the ancient trait of Theta Max. When one of your Pokemon becomes this Pokemon, heal all damage from it. So, in some cases, that might be the better play. Like, I don't know how much Primal Groudon's Omega Barrier really did for it. Maybe it helped a lot, but I do know the alpha growth of Primal Kyogre is definitely a useful thing, especially where Kyogre has to move energy off of itself every time it attacks. So, Theta Max might be something you want to run, or the simple fact is these are the shiny versions of all of these Primal and Mega Legendaries. So whichever type you want to run in your deck is your choice, and either one I think would make a decent addition. Now the final card to mention is actually technically not from the set. It's a promo card, but I'm pretty sure it's the just like a promo version of the regular one that will run in the set, and that is Gyarados, 130 HP Water type, with a new trait called Theta Double. Now this is pretty impressive. This Pokemon may have up to 2 Pokemon Tool cards attached to it. You can give it a Muscle Band and a Hard Charm. You can give it 2 Muscle Bands. You can double up whichever tools you want to give these guys. So that's going to add some real versatility into these Theta Double Pokemon. This particular Pokemon, Gyarados, for 2 colorless, can do full retaliation. I'm stumbling all over my words today. 30 plus damage. It does 30 more damage for each damage counter on each of your benched Magikarp. Now, generally, Magikarp really only have 30 HP. It's going to be hard to get them with damage that won't knock them out, but in a case that you can do that, let's say you have 3 bench Magikarp, each of them with 2 damage on them. That is 6 total times 30. That's 180 damage plus the 30 from full retaliation for basic. And for a double colorless, you could be doing 210 damage with this Gyarados. Not too bad to shake a stick at there. And for Thrash, we got 2 water and 2 colorless energy. Does 100 plus. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 30 more damage. If tails, 30 damage to itself. A couple ways to deal with that would be either the Trick Coin from Phantom Forces or the Protection Cube from Flash Fire to prevent damage done to the Pokemon by its own attacks. Alright, so that's a good number of cards coming from the new set, and as more are revealed, I'll mention those as well in future videos, so stay tuned for that. Alright, so we're just going to end off this video here. But one last thing is, I do have a random booster pack to open from the Flash Fire set. So, I know I keep jumping back and forth with when I want to do these on camera, like either a single one at the start of the video, multiples at the end. I kind of wanted to get all the news out to you guys first, and then get into, like, you know, the extra thing, which is kind of like a little bonus at the end of the video. So I'll be opening up that in just a moment until we can switch the camera around, and we'll check out what we get out of the booster pack. My apologies for the glare from the window here, folks. I'm hoping to have like a better setup for these openings in the future. Just currently my room is in a little bit of disarray, because as I said earlier in the video, that I have the wall shelves on the go here, and I'm limited in space. So let's just see what we get out of this random booster pack. starting with a Pineco, Scraggy, Shinx, Skrelp, and C-Dot. Next up we have a Pokemon Center Lady, always useful to heal your Pokemon up. And Krokorok, Furfrou. The reverse foil card is Meowstic. Oh, that's a rare card too. Pretty cool. And I like the ear influence attack. Move as many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon as you like to any of your opponent's other Pokemon in any way you like. If you're able to do a lot of damage to the entire team, you can then use Meowstic's attack to just move it all onto one Pokemon and knock it out. Now the other rare of the pack shall be Foil Carbink with Crystal Barrier. 1 Fairy Energy, says flip a coin. If tails, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to Carbink next turn. Wonder Blast is pretty powerful too. It takes 3 colorless, does 40 plus. This attack does 20 more damage for each Fairy Energy attached to this Pokemon. So, not too bad. Alright, well, thanks for checking out this week's video, and watch for more videos coming up this week for the online Wi-Fi battles and online TCG matches. Alright, I'll catch you next time.